hope you're going to enjoy this story, and if you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. The first time I heard my own voice through a real sound system was in a pub with sticky floors. I was 19, shaking so badly the mic rattled in its stand. The speakers spat my voice back at me louder than I thought possible, and for a second I nearly stopped, embarrassed at the intimacy of it. But then the room quieted, bar chatter dimming, forks stalling halfway to mouths, and I understood what it meant to hold a space in sound. I lived off nights like that: pubs, clubs, birthday gigs, the occasional wedding when someone's cousin backed out. I taught myself how to sing in fragments, YouTube tutorials, choir memories, endless hours of trial and error in my bedroom. Every dollar I made went back into the hustle: cables, pedals, bus fare, rent. Music wasn't glamorous, it was survival. My friends finally pushed me toward the voice. "You can't keep hiding in dive bars," Masha told me one night after I'd finished a set and was hauling speakers out the back door. "Your voice is bigger than that room." "I'm not ready," I said automatically. "You've been ready for years. You're just scared." So I sent in the video, me in a thrift store dress, singing with a microphone balanced on a stack of textbooks. I didn't expect anything. When the email arrived with "Congratulations, you've been selected for a blind audition," I laughed until I nearly cried. The stage was nothing like a pub. The red chairs were enormous, like thrones in a row, turned away, waiting to judge without looking. The crowd was a restless sea of light and anticipation. My boots thudded against the black floor as the band started, bass shivering through my bones. I opened my mouth and sang. It wasn't perfect. I cracked slightly on the second verse, nerves tightening my throat, but it was me. All the grit I'd learned in bars, all the soft edges I'd sanded down alone at midnight, poured out in a way I couldn't hold back. And then it happened. The first thunk of a chair spinning. My heart slammed so hard I nearly missed the next line. Another thunk, two. Two coaches had turned. One of them was Electra. She didn't look real at first, more like an album cover come to life. Sharp jawline, eyes with a steady focus that made my knees buckle. I'd grown up with her music taped to my bedroom wall, self-taught like me. She'd clawed her way up through cheap guitars and street corners until she was headlining festivals. Now she was sitting there in a leather jacket that caught the light like armor, grinning at me like she knew exactly what she'd just done to my insides. The song ended. Applause crashed down like surf. My hands shook as I lowered the mic. "What's your name?" Electra asked, leaning forward, elbows on her knees. "Bianca." She repeated it, tasting it like a note. "Bianca. I turned because you made choices. Smart ones. You held back when you could have screamed. You let the melody carry. That's the mark of someone who knows themselves." The other coach chimed in, praising my tone, my control, my potential. My head buzzed with their words, but my eyes never left Electra. "Bianca," she said again, softer this time. "Come to my team. I'll make sure your truth doesn't get lost in the noise." The decision wasn't hard. My voice cracked slightly when I said it. "I pick Electra." The crowd erupted. She stood, came to hug me, and in that brief embrace, her jacket brushed my arm, and the heat of her body came with it. Professional, friendly, but my stomach turned into a live wire. Team rehearsals began the next week. We crammed into a studio filled with cables, whiteboards scrawled with song keys, and paper cups of stale coffee. Electra didn't sit on a chair above us like royalty. She sat cross-legged on the floor with her notepad, listening, scribbling, interrupting only when necessary. When it was my turn, she asked me to sing my audition song again. Halfway through, she stopped me. "Too much vibrato, straight tone it, then let it bloom at the end." I tried. "Better, now add a breath catch before the chorus like you've just been punched. Don't overdo it, just a split second." "Good, again." She spoke in images that made sense to me. Blow on it like it's hot tea. Let the stairwell have all its steps. Don't choke the mic, let it breathe. Her corrections sliced me open, precise and unsentimental. And yet I felt seen, not just as a contestant, but as a musician. By evening, most of the team had gone home. I stayed, fiddling with the sheet music, too restless to leave. Electra was wrapping up cables, humming to herself. "You held your breath better today," she said without looking at me. "Pubs don't forgive bad breath control," I replied, and then blushed at how it sounded. She chuckled. "Self-taught, right? Me too. I know what it means to teach your lungs discipline without anyone clapping in rehearsal rooms." I didn't move, neither did she. The studio was suddenly too quiet, the dim lights making shadows long on the floor. Our reflections stared back from the glass of the sound booth, her tall, deliberate, collected, me frozen, hands twitching against my thighs. "This is a bad idea," she said quietly, though she hadn't stepped back. "I know." My voice came out rough. I kissed her. It wasn't a careful kiss. It landed fast, almost clumsy, all heat and urgency, like we'd both been holding our breath since the blind audition and couldn't anymore. Her hand came up to my neck, steadying me, pulling me closer. Our mouths collided and adjusted, lips parting, the pressure deepening until I had to breathe through my nose. I made a sound, half gasp, half laugh, and she answered by tightening her hold, keeping me right there. When we finally broke apart, air rushed between us, harsh and uneven. Her eyes locked on mine, searching, unreadable. "Bianca?" "I know," I said again. "We shouldn't." But neither of us moved away. That night I went home with my head on fire. Masha asked how rehearsal went, and I just muttered, "Fine," before locking myself in my room. I replayed the kiss again and again, the weight of her hand on my neck, the certainty in the way she kissed me back. I'd gone on The Voice to chase a dream. I hadn't expected to run headfirst into desire that felt just as consuming. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The battles were designed to make us bleed for the cameras. That's how it felt anyway. Two contestants shoved into a duet where only one would leave intact. Electra paired me with Jaden, a falsetto wizard who could sing an entire verse higher than I'd ever dared. He smiled at me like a brother, but the pressure coiled inside my ribs like barbed wire. "You're the gravity," Electra told me during rehearsal, pacing with a pen in her hand. "He's the helium. Don't chase him. Let him float while you hold the floor." I obeyed. She was always right. But every time her eyes locked on mine, steady and unflinching, I felt something shifting. She wasn't just shaping my voice. She was shaping the way my body reacted to sound, to her, to us. The night before the battle was brutal, 12 run-throughs, sweat clinging to my shirt, Jaden teasing out riffs like sparks. When the crew left, I stayed to coil cables, heart thudding in my chest. Electra lingered at the console, writing notes. "You're leaning too heavy on vibrato in the second chorus," she said without looking up. "Old habit," I admitted. "You'll break it." She finally raised her eyes, studied me with that same dissecting patience she used on lyrics. "You want this badly enough." Silence followed, stretched taut. I couldn't take it. "I still think about that night," I blurted. Her mouth pressed into a line. "Bianca, we don't have to pretend it didn't happen." "We do. For now." She exhaled hard, like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "You're my contestant. The cameras are sharks. One scent of blood. And what if I don't care?" Her eyes softened, then hardened again. She shook her head. "You will." But she didn't walk away. Neither did I. The battle itself felt like running through fire. The lights, the crowd, the adrenaline surging so high my fingers tingled. Jaden and I traded lines, harmonized, sparred in front of the world. When it ended, Electra stood, clapping. She chose me. Jaden hugged me, grinning, and got stolen by another coach. Relief ripped through me like lightning. Backstage, Electra's hug was professional, quick, warm. but her hand lingered at the small of my back, fingers pressing lightly as if spelling a message only I could read. That night, when everyone else celebrated, I found her in the smaller studio off the main hall. She was looping a track, frowning at the levels. I closed the door behind me. "You were brilliant," she said without turning. "You made me brilliant." She finally glanced over, something flickering across her face. Pride, desire, both. Dangerous words. "Then stop me." She didn't. We crossed the room at the same time, lips colliding, urgent and messy. Her hand clutched the back of my neck. Mine fumbled at the zipper of her jacket. We kissed like people starved, mouths opening, tongues tangling, breaths ragged. My back slammed against the booth glass. She pinned me there, groaning softly when I tugged her closer. "Not here," she muttered against my lips, voice raw. "Then where?" My pulse was wild. Her eyes burned into mine. "My place." Electra's apartment wasn't what I expected. No sterile celebrity museum, just a lived-in loft with guitars stacked against walls, candles half burned on every surface, notebooks spilling lyrics across the coffee table. She dropped her keys in a dish, stood for a beat as if reconsidering, then turned. Her expression softened, dangerous in its honesty. "If we do this, Bianca, there's no going back." "I don't want to go back," I whispered. That was all it took. She closed the distance fast, mouth crashing onto mine, hand sliding under my shirt. The urgency startled me. Electra, who was always composed, now tearing at me with hunger. We stumbled to the couch, her weight pressing me down, her kisses unrelenting. My hands roamed under her jacket, over her waist, up her back, memorizing muscle and curve. She pulled my shirt over my head, tossed it aside, and kissed down my throat. Heat seared through me, every nerve sparking alive. I gasped her name, fingers digging into her hair. She responded with a low groan, biting gently at my collarbone. We undressed in fragments, laughter breaking through the frenzy when zippers caught, when socks tangled. But the laughter only fed the fire. Her hands mapped me with precision, as if she'd written the song of my body and was playing it note by note. I wasn't shy. I wanted her too badly. My nails scraped her shoulders, my legs wrapped around her, my body arching into every touch. She kissed me like she owned the moment, like I belonged here, and I gave back every ounce of that ownership. It wasn't polished, it wasn't cinematic. It was raw, sweaty, honest. Our breaths collided, our moans overlapped, our bodies tangled and untangled until there was nothing left but release. Afterwards, silence pressed around us, heavy and soft. She lay against me, hair damp, breath slowing. My fingers traced idle circles on her back, trying to ground myself. "This is insane," she murmured into my shoulder. "I know. I could lose everything if this gets out." I tilted her chin up so our eyes met. "And if it doesn't?" Her expression cracked, revealing something vulnerable beneath the steel. "Then I could fall in love with you." My chest tightened. "Maybe you already have." She didn't answer with words. She kissed me again, slower this time, less urgency, more promise. Sleep found us side by side, her hand curled loosely around mine, the city humming faintly beyond the windows. For the first time in years, I felt like my life wasn't something I was scraping together piece by piece. It was something bigger, louder, undeniable, like a song I couldn't stop singing. From that night on, everything split in two. Daytime meant interviews, rehearsals, group numbers. She was Coach Electra then, sharp, demanding, always pushing me harder than anyone else. Nighttime meant studio doors locked, whispered laughter, stolen kisses, bodies pressed close in shadows. It was reckless, we knew that, but with every brush of her hand, every note she coaxed out of me, I cared less about risk. Desire had become part of the music, inseparable, and every day we pretended, the truth grew louder. Live shows weren't just about singing, they were about survival. The cameras didn't just capture notes, they captured nerves, sweat, the the split-second flicker of doubt in your eyes before you hit a high line. By the time I reached the semifinals, I'd mastered the art of smiling through the chaos. I answered interview questions with tidy little sound bites, played the grateful newcomer, and let the stylists drape me in gowns that sparkled under hot stage lights. But the truth pulsed under my skin every night. Electra and I were no longer just coach and contestant. We were something else. I sang like a woman possessed because I won. Because the taste of her mouth still lingered when I stepped on stage. Because I could feel her eyes burning into me from the coach's chair. Because every rehearsal with her left me trembling with more than exhaustion. Desire had bled into every note, and the audience felt it. They didn't know the story, but they saw the fire. The semi-final performance nearly broke me. Just me and a piano, no backup, no band. I chose a song that wasn't technically flashy, but cut close to the bone. A song about secrets too heavy to carry, about nights brighter than days, about wanting without apology. When I finished, silence hit first. Then the crowd erupted, standing as one. I saw Electra stand too, clapping hard, her expression fierce. To anyone else, it looked like professional pride. To me, it was something rawer, love, unguarded. I advanced to the finale. Finale night was chaos. Backstage buzzed with stylists, producers barking orders, contestants pacing like caged animals. I'd barely slept. Electra found me in a quiet corner, away from cameras, her hand brushing mine in a gesture too fleeting to catch on film. "You're ready," she said simply. "What if I lose?" Her eyes softened. "Then you still win. You've already won." I wanted to kiss her right there, but a stagehand yelled my name and the moment shattered. The finale was spectacle incarnate. Pyrotechnics, confetti, fans screaming in every octave. I sang my heart out, left everything I had on the stage. But when the host read the votes, my name wasn't the one at the top. Applause thundered for the winner, deservedly. Confetti rained. I smiled, clapped, hugged the others. Outwardly gracious, inwardly hollow. Then I saw her moving. Electra was walking onto the stage. Not planned, not scripted. The other coaches watched in surprise as she strode across the confetti-littered floor, bouquet of white lilies in her hand. She stopped in front of me. For a split second, the world slowed. My heart tried to punch its way out of my chest. She handed me the flowers. The crowd murmured, confused. Then she leaned in and kissed me. Not a safe stage peck, not something you could spin as mentor affection. It was deep enough, sure enough, to answer every rumor. Her hand cupped the back of my head. Mine clutched the flowers between us, petals crushing as the kiss sealed us in a bubble no one else could enter. Gasps, cheers, screams. Phones shot into the air. The internet ignited in real time. When she pulled back, she smiled at me, warm, unapologetic. "You deserve to win," she whispered, audible only to me. "I already did," I whispered back. The crowd roared louder. The days after were a frenzy. Tabloids splashed our faces across covers. Headlines swung between scandal and celebration. Coach and contestant caught kissing on stage. Electra breaks rules for love. Bianca and Electra, music's new power couple? We didn't hide anymore. The first paparazzi photos caught us holding hands outside a studio. Another showed us kissing at a crosswalk. Careless in daylight. At first, the invasion stung. I felt stripped bare, every private gesture dissected online. But then something shifted. Fans rallied. Hashtags trended. Strangers sent messages saying they finally felt seen. And through it all, Electra held me steady. "They'll talk no matter what," she said one night, stretched beside me in her bed, hair falling across her face. "So let's give them something worth talking about." Work multiplied. She pulled me into her writing sessions, introduced me to producers who treated me like a peer. We started writing together, at first clumsy, then fluid, our voices weaving into lyrics that felt like confessions. "Your voice deserves your words," she told me, sliding her notebook across the table. So I wrote. I wrote about us, about risk, about hunger, about the way a kiss could change the trajectory of a life. She added chords, tweaked lines, and together we built something new. Our first joint single debuted 3 months later, a love song, unapologetic. When we performed it live, the crowd screamed so loud I felt it in my bones. People weren't just watching a performance, they were watching a story unfold in real time, a story that belonged to both of us. The headlines shifted again. The scandal faded into narrative. Electra and Bianca, unstoppable duo. From coach and contestant to creative partners. Power couple redefining pop. I didn't go back to pubs. I didn't need to. Now the lights were bigger, the crowds louder, but the feeling was the same as the first time I'd cut through his bar chatter with a single note. The world pausing, listening, recognizing. Only now, when I turned my head, Electra was there. Sometimes beside me, sometimes in the wings, always part of the song. At night, when we collapsed into bed, sweat still cooling from another show, she would brush her fingers over my jaw and say, "You changed everything, Bianca." And I'd smile because I knew she had changed everything too. I didn't win the voice, but I won something better. I won her. And together we were just getting started.